Hello, hello, and welcome back to the adventures. Potentially Mimikyu. The adventures of the great Ace Attorney from ancient times. Can you not stab each other, like, right away? I just got the carpet cleaned. I don't even have a carpet. My floor is wood. And yet I still had to get the carpet cleaned from how many times someone has been stabbed. In my general area. Well, hopefully we'll take a stab at the truth and figure out what this means. The return of the great departed soul. I'm both terrified and super curious. What's going to happen? Will we find someone that actually died, or will there just be another point of someone thinking that there's someone else is dead and then being like, oh no, they're fine? You know, because last time, for those that forgot, we had to deal with William Shamspeare, who was actually in a flashback, and he was thought to be dead and then ended up not being dead. Ironically, the person who tried to kill him also was thought to be dead and ended up not being dead. Russian ballerina girl? Thank you for the host, Doof. Hope you're having a good day. Oh, her? No. She was still on the boat, I believe. So I believe that they delivered her to where she wanted to go. Despite the fact that she did, in fact, kill someone out of fear. But the whole boat was kind of in on it, so they didn't want to... It was an accident. I mean, she didn't mean to murder. And she never really went to court for it. It's really annoying that, you know, Kazuma was killed by someone on accident before we even got to England or whatever. But, you know, it's like I can't really, like, given her circumstances, I can't hold it against her. I can just be very disappointed. But it's okay. His soul rests with us in the form of his sword. Yeah, to each their own. Hello, Emmy. Episode 3. The Return of the Great Departed Soul.
The grand end of the century great exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it.
I never heard of it.
Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe.
I'm sure Sholmes could probably figure that out, Mimikyu. Sorry,
Welcoming
speak over him.
over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter.
A hand, sure. That chin is way too chiseled.
Unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
Are we never mentioned, like, does he never mention Ryu at all?
We're here at the showground of
Oh,
the
okay.
exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
Absolutely packed.
The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
We're going to launch this rocket into space! And then probably blow up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam
That guy with the hat is going to die, or be the murderer. Someone with a hat that top, he has to die.
Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car.
And more accidents will occur.
To the skies.
Well, they don't really sprout wings, they just have wings, but okay.
And today we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future.
As I can't help but notice that this man, he has no neck. Not the guy in the top hat, the guy with the afro. He doesn't have a neck. He's all chin. Yeah, we still don't have flying cars. I mean, eventually, when Bruce Wayne is born.
A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
Which can send you directly into the future, where I will get all of these ideas, and then you'll be able to team up with your friends.
Will literally be disassembled by a pulse of
Oh no.
electricity and beamed to another location.
Oh no. We didn't get this either.
Where a
This experiment failed.
reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
Complex calculations which we will not explain. Yep, this man's going to die. Well, I suppose I had a good say-so. I sure had a lot of dialogue. How did I get strapped in? What straps over my arms before?
In but a few moments from now, these gentlemen will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air.
Have they tested this? Maybe they should test this with other living things first.
To arrive an instant later on the crystal tower behind you.
It's gonna explode. Maybe don't pull all those at once. Oh man, this is not going to go well. It's exactly how experiments work. And something's going wrong. No, you use rats. You have to be considerate and use rats. Because rats are the closest thing to humans we have. Bruno, are you listening? Oh, sorry. What was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Do you like what I cook for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? I was in a flashback. Today's paper is full of news about the Great Expedition again. Ah, yeah, the Great Expedition. Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? I can relate. Did you say something, Iris? Oh gosh, you're even more down. When did you arrive, Mr. Naruto? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. You know, because, breakfast, and I kinda live here? Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks? Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with the simple observations. What? This again? Let's see, yes. For example, you tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. It's always like that. Clearly deduce, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has, ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Haha. Thanks again. Yep, Sasato is currently in Japan. Crossed my mind recently. And it's been 6 months now since I was forbidden from working in court. I've been wondering how much longer I'm gonna be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. Yeah, I don't know if they explained it, but we got banned for... I guess we got banned for... I forget her name. The one girl that helped us out and we defended her in court. About the murder of Mr. Windbag or whatever. Yeah, Gina. I think because we figured out that she had faked her testimony, we got banned from doing court stuff. I don't know. They haven't explained it. But also we, you know, casually revealed government secrets inside a court of law. But that's pretty minor. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He's even more down in the dumps than me. I know, and the Great Exposition is opened. I think you'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together? I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. You're embroiled in some tricky case you can't be distracted from? Is that it? She did, but she took the blame for that. You know, like... I don't know why we would get banned for something someone else did. We didn't even know until the very end. I remember hearing you were working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Event 6 months ago. Maybe they'll explain right now. Half a year ago now, I took on a defense of a young girl in a trial held at the Old Bailey. I swear if we're going into another flashback one. When it first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at London Pawnbrokery, turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake. I did? Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. Told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing. They didn't explain it. They just said that something happened. You have, haven't you, Bruno? Reading all those big, fat tomes about British law up in your room, and notes about Sholmes' old cases, and... brewing Iris a special blend of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Saw it on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, thinking of going to ask the powers to be... that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart, the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? You mean the guy that's obviously a villain? And still won't take care of his stinking birds? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. Not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in courts again. Came to Britain because to become the best lawyer I could. Even though that's not why I came here, but whatever. Can't do that just sitting around here. Oh, London's been swept in this great expedition, hasn't it? Most advanced science that probably resulted in someone's murder. The most modern technology, the finest work of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things and the world will be watching. Oh, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things? Fly? Yeah, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air, which Sholmes here has plenty of. But how? How does hot air have to do anything with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. I sure have a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. You guys know about the hot air balloons, right? Right? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't have known? What are those? Well, they're balloons with hot air in them. Yeah, I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seemed very questionable. Something went wrong in the open experimental stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scammed experiments really are. There's the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article about the other great expedition. They're like a drift loom that explode and kill you. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That's my proper atmosphere. Sholmes, no! You have to know that deep down there's a light that never goes out! Great Expedition newspaper, the end of the court record. We don't talk about that, Mimikyu. I mean, they can steal children. Have you never seen a normal balloon do that? Shadows cast behind. That a metaphorical way of referring to the back of the page of the paper? I guess I should look at it. Yoink. The Reaper attacked? Wait, what? Many glowing reports about the Great Expedition, and everything's going on here. That was a rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? The Reaper attacked? That's Lord Van Zeeks! Must be what Mr. Sholmes is talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? Also, lost cat. Oh, we've been there. Public health services. Lord Van Zeeks and compatriot cornered. Also, what was this thing? Every article on the front page is news about the Great Expedition. Other experiments demonstrate the brand new scientific ideas, culture exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. Too bad everything goes to crap about 30 years from then. We must go see it properly before long. But you know, I guess hindsight's 20/20. Haha. You investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh. Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. Must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually... more mysterious and complicated cases, the better Hurley's mood. Ha! Is really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. Of course, that's what I say and not what I do. Alright, mod stuff. Deducts that people eat soap, do you not? You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes? Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way once to the crime scene. Ah, that was a deep sigh. Says the people Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yeah, Prosecutor Barrick Von Zeeks. Here I am. Forgive me for staining my hallowed chalice with my own blood. Va ha ha. Say if the Reaper is prosecuting a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. Even though, you know, what's-his-face is still totally fine. London's finest rogues always find a way around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity has been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital's never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite the accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take his attacks lying down. Although, seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeeks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? 'Cause you're working on the case? Well, in the article here it says, as to what are Lord Van Zeeks' condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Ha, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you'll have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Or, I don't know. Go see Lord Van Zeeks? You know, the guy with the thing? I'm dressed now. Well, I must be leaving now. Yeah, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha, you really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? Seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I'm wondering where you're going. Ah, well then. See you later, indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. What is... Are you supposed to be a mushroom? In disguise? Yes, I am sure he lives in a castle. What is this outfit? She's just Toadette. Alright then, Runo. Let's get going. Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? I got changed to go to the Great Expedition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're gonna take me there then. Could you not aim that at me? Merry Christmas. Alright, fine, just lower the weapon, would you? Of course, and after the Supreme Court, we're going to see the Great Expedition. Okay, I guess that's what I'm doing today then. What should I make for breakfast tomorrow? Why don't I surprise you, Runo? I'm glad that her sprite has also changed to the outfit. But also, why? Alright, 1 second. Ow. There we go. Office of Lord Chief Justice Strongheart in Britain's great capital city, London. Grand stone architecture and the echoey tick of the vast cogwheels lend an air to authority, but also it has a horrible infestation of birds. If we see one bird, dang it! couldn't even finish the sentence before they showed up. Been about 6 months now since I was last here. Some things are never changed, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place, and also those stinking birds! Oh, okay. Doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. Happily reading over there. Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here. Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. Time we came here 6 months ago. When Tussault was given the news that she was to return to Japan.
Ah, I understand you wish to speak to me. I'm here now.
Oh, Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well?
Let's see, since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. Kept you waiting, huh? My apologies.
Hello, Griffey. Hope you're having a good day. Sorry you missed that we made a character with your name and then deleted her. Yesterday. Don't worry about it. Oh no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around, staring into space, worrying about whether or not I'll be murdered in the next 5 minutes. Yeah, normal stuff.
Good to know.
Good to know. That doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. Man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status.
As you'll be aware, the Great Expedition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result. Policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, stabbing the Reaper, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Which is INFS for short.
I've not heard about that.
Investigating authorities from foreign countries around the globe will be taking part, including your own land. Forensic science is the future! Oh, these stupid birds. The world must embrace it, and embrace the ballistic markings of a gun, which if you didn't know is like the fingerprints of a gun. As we're hosting nation, I have much to do, and it's my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention and result, so be it.
Well, it's nice to know where I stand.
So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about.
Well, thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I'm gonna be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. I don't know why I didn't say that part out loud. That's what brought me here, today. Actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
Oh, I see you invited a child here. Okay.
I actually came here today to ask for your permission.
Go on.
6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of the foreign justice system. Desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yeah? Here it comes.
I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role.
Well, that's true. Japanese government actually sent my best friend on the study tour, and he died. Thanks for bringing that up. Not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring a change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. A tragic accident hadn't happened. Thanks for bringing it up again. I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him.
His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling?
Sorry?
The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was?
What do you mean? Mission? Not making any sense.
Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. Clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions.
Do you mean...
As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful news, Runo.
In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope.
Of course, please tell me more. You described it as a curious affair?
Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Expedition yesterday?
Oh, no. Yeah, I read about it. Professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think? Instantaneous kinesis? What? As in moving things with a click of the fingers? That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need. A dash of devil may care. Or cry. Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination.
It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. You can guess who. Literally seemed like he was set up there to die. Certain Mr. Odi Asman. Odi Asman.
Even that one hurts me. Just reminds me of stinking might die.
Mr. Odi Asman. He did die as a man. An investor and a well-known figure in society.
A large explosion. A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Hairbrain. He was detained immediately after the incident, and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder.
What? Murder?
You intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There's very little time for you to carry out any kind of investigation.
Great expedition. Scientific experiment gone wrong. And murder? Feel out of my depth before I even started. Still... We should go to the prison straight away then. Try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely.
Ah yes, one more thing about the case. Connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper.
Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks? How?
All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Expedition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium.
Does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it?
Exactly!
Birds!
London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million, which is a drop of water in the grand scheme of things. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible.
Which is known as the forensic science, isn't it? Otherwise known as this game's way of making things way more complicated?
Exactly! The future of policing! And getting in your way. Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensics methods.
Oh dear, that's alarming.
Exactly! It's extremely alarming!
Why does she keep gasping? It's not that surprising.
If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim.
Sorry?
By the way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now.
What? Oh, how fascinating.
It all began 15 years ago. I was... I'm dying. His words killed me. Are we flashbacking from his words? No, we just passed out. Okay. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course.
Sorry, what? I blanked out.
Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division with Scotland Yard. That is my mission.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be.
Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
He poisoned us with words.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? Actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science.
Is Twitch breaking?
Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this?
The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Expedition? Of course.
No, not that. The story on the back page.
What story? The Reaper attacked? Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zeeks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. We don't exactly have another prosecutor in the game.
Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know.
Very well, if it interests you.
It does, strangely.
Fortunately, Lord Van Zeeks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter.
But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? Did he pull off some anime shenanigans with him slicing a bullet in half?
Well, no. They didn't have any silver bullet. No, wait, that's werewolves. He's a vampire. They didn't manage to hit anything important. We'll say that. It's related to events that occurred a month ago. The leader of the One Capital's criminal organization was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zeeks. But the man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes.
Large sums of money?
A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. You know, despite being randomly pulled off the street, and yet always seemed to be someone you know in there. Isn't that weird? However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday.
But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely?
The victim's henchman certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. O'Dye Asman. You know, the man who died as a man.
Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Expedition.
Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Why do heads of criminal organizations always seem to put themselves in a terrible position? Don't they get there by being smart? Why would he look at this giant electric laser beam thing and be like, you know what, I should step in there, not use one of my henchmen?
Unbelievable.
I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me, and maybe don't steal my voice. I only have one of those, you know. Although really forgot what voice he gave me before.
Why do you lure Van Zeeks as a prosecutor?
I've never been asked that before.
All the criminals who manage to get off in court will then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike Lord Van Zeeks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here.
I have Van Zeeks work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. 1, it's funny when he throws his chalice. Firstly, the man's the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. You know, despite the fact that he has literally never won against you.
And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way of so many have died if not by someone's hand?
Van Zeeks may have earned himself the Monkey of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So we will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Thirdly, it's again funny when he just throws wine glasses into the thing. He may not be a killer, but he has left some red stains across the courtroom. I'll tell you that. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget.
11 hours late? That's, quite something.
That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man.
Yeah, I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yeah, where would I find Lord Van Zeeks now?
I would assume he's at his office, or at home.
Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth.
Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands.
Of course, yeah, thank you very much, my lord. Click, 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 click. Where's Iris?
Alright, Mimikyu, what do you think is gonna be in his office? I'm going to say he will not have a mirror in his office. Because why would he? It wouldn't work. He will definitely have his stupid chalice. A photo of a dead wife, probably. He might even have, like, a picture of Sholmes with darts in it. But I think that might be more in Gregson's office. A casket. That'll just be his desk. It's just a casket. And... His coat will probably be on the wall. And more swords. I'm in this place yet. Don't forget to take me with you when you go. Let's go there first. See how Lord Van Zeeks is. More swords. Way more wine bottles and chalices. A picture of himself. As a knight, I guess. And a chess set. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office.
Yeah, it appears so.
Brr. Sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that...
Does he just have barrels of his wine?
A hooded figure is so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is.
What are you doing here?
He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. And not wearing his coat.
I kind of figured he was in the robe because, you know, sunlight. But, you know, he's not really a vampire.
Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well.
I am.
So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or another?
No punishment is taking place here.
Oh.
That is my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will.
I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must be the same person who's pictured in the newspaper.
Kind of surprised it's also not a girl. Very able in combat, the requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage.
You referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers?
The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming that he's such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms.
That's you. No, you're the... Okay. Their Strongheart said the assault last night was some sort of a revenge attack?
True, carried out by the henchmen of Odi Asmon's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened.
Odi Asmon.
He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. Tussault being the apprentice would be pretty funny, but wouldn't make any sense. It must be Ryutaro. You know, our great cousin from Japan. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself the verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was most unusual cause of death.
I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis going wrong. Mr. Asmon died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. He went POW! And then went boom.
Correct, in a manner of speaking. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you?
Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If the man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of all this particular death, at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Bruno? I mean, what with you taking the Professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him?
Oh yeah, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest.
Albert. Albert Hairbrain.
That's right. You know him by any chance?
Of course. He's a competency of mine. We were at university together. I drank his blood at least 5 times a day. Now he has brain on hair.
You're what? I understood the Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though.
Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all.
So you were students together?
I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he is in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him.
Yeah, only if I make it out of this office alive. Actually been charged with murder, it seems.
Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me, of course. I do not have any other prosecutors in this game.
By you? But you made it sound as if you and the Professor had been friends.
We are friends, it's true.
And why would you do this? If the Reapers are the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Zeeks thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean...
I'm the crown prosecutor, immortal like any other. I'm no demigod. I'm a vampire.
But they've all died, haven't they? The people you prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society, excluding, you know, the 5 or 6 people we prosecuted, and, you know, 2 of them were pretty okay guys. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world's a better place without them.
But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Guinea. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have been taking a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work.
The Shargon said the same. Said he believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, well, I got cool coats.
The number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially.
No.
It appears that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives.
He does waste a ton of wine. I'm surprised that one of the bottles up there isn't cracked in the background. This one, the Crown Prosecutor does, random. What do you think gave him that position? Obviously, it was his baseball career. Well, base wine career.
You mean to say...
I mean to say that if my Symposium serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly, and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Lord Van Zeeks. Alright, well, I'm gonna look around real quick. Oh look, it's a scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground. It's amazing, I wonder why it's here. Perhaps he made it take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person. Perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket.
Surely it's obvious I'm using this to investigate as an investigative aid. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved.
Ugh, I really didn't think he'd overhear that. Even though everyone can read my brain. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? It's a very majestic outfit and pose. But sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zeek's facial features. He's way too handsome. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated the subject's handsomeness, I think. Ah, that reminds me. Heard Emperor Napoleon from France ordered artists to make him look even more attractive when they painted him. How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
That portrait does not depict me. Surely it's immediately obvious.
Oh, then who is it?
I assume that is his father. Though that would not be immediately obvious at all. You know, Napoleon. Napoleon Dynamite. It's at the Great Turning Point, so... when was that? I don't remember. There is one way to check, of course. Never mind. I thought that said the year, it only says the month. No, no Van Karma. Anyways, we gotta address the elephant in the room, right? What's with all these barrels?
Look at all those ancient casts laying in the wall over there. Casts in the Reaper's chamber.
Or are they caskets?
You don't think all those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them? Dead, do you?
What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you for clearing that up.
So you were kind of right, Mimikyu. They do mention caskets.
Runa and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot.
Also, he just has bats. He just has...
Ah! They were bats!
Yeah, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
And what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. Just not the flying kind.
He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then.
I think the familiar idea is more likely. Scary, though. Either way.
Yeah, somewhere near the middle point of that, I believe.
Really looks like a punishment to me. Never seen someone sitting like that before. Hasn't moved his muscles since we arrived. Think perhaps he's dead?
If he was dead, Runo, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's gonna talk to us.
He's not dead. And his name definitely isn't Alucard. Or Vladimir.
Lord Van Zeek's desk, look, so stylish.
And that's a marble chess set beside it.
Chess, that's a Western version of the Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems.
Oh, really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case.
I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zeek sometime. To a bout of shogi problems.
If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home.
Look at that fine collection of hollowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there.
My hollowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards from the finest souls that I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsman in the world, who keeps getting on my case for, you know, breaking them.
And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless.
Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginable and repeatedly wide off the mark. Sometimes.
Oh!
Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans who work you defile.
So, it's my fault? Silly me. How could I ever have thought otherwise?
Yep, he's the one that breaks them, and yet we are blamed for it.
Warden said cell 11. This is the one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner, look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Harebrain, wasn't it? Excuse me. Professor Harebrain.
What voice does he have? Did he have? I don't really remember. It's been 10 minutes. Actually, it's already been an hour. Jeez. Didn't feel like it already been an hour. What I get for reading so slowly.
No, who are you? I'm Ryusuke Naruto. I'm defense lawyer. A lawyer? Yeah. Was it something I said?
A lawyer, you say? Would you be here to about the experiment? Are you going to defend me a hypothesis?
Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't...
Yesterday's demonstration! The demonstration was... That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one else listens. No lawyer believes in science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity.
Now's probably not a good time to mention that you're sealed me by concentration leave for a while, too.
I don't know if I like this guy.
You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
The papers have called us a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could say they interpret the results, by the way, if you really wanted to. When I suppose the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success.
You've lost me.
I saw with my own eyes right there in front of me. Mr. Osmond was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculation predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instant kinesis. However,
the machine exploded and Mr. Osmond, in fact, perished?
Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure.
And what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Osmond was an accident, correct? But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder.
I was responsible for the man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished. At once. But... murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident. Simply an accident.
I see. Harry and I were talking this morning, you know. That the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or a murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then Professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds?
Ah, yes. Newly established here in Britain. Special Dispensation of Scientific Equipment Act.
Now one passed me by. But if the case is treated as murder...
they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pour over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then... they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial.
Ah, I see now. So, in short, there was a terrible accident in the Great Expedition Showground yesterday.
Yes! Or rather, no, the devil's in the details. Or rather, he's in his office. Strictly speaking, it was a terrible explosion.
Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instant kinesis, weren't you? I don't know how to say that word. How fascinating.
Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage to break the bonds and beam the particles through space.
Theoretically, yes, but maybe you should have tested it on something smaller first.
That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis.
Our hypothesis is just ideas, though. That's unimaginably high-level science.
Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and in the next, I could be at the Great Expedition again.
Well, yeah, that would be incredible.
And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at the Great Partition Theater, I'll say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach.
Except, you know, electrons are known to separate when attracted to other electrons, and those electrons would most likely leave you without arms or legs upon arriving at your final destination. But let's just ignore that scientific hypothesis, because clearly it never happened. So no more hiding in wardrobes on Rocky Sea for 50 days and having my best friend killed? Wow, thanks for bringing that up. I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it'd feel like it had shrunk.
My word, that's exactly right. What are the implications? What does this mean?
Oops, that got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it. Bunnybrain? This is another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose.
The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always a fly in the ointment.
Why are there flies in the ointment? Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have.
That's exactly it, yes.
Curly's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman.
The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? Full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. O'Die Asban, wasn't it? Too bad he didn't die as man, he died as many pieces of a man. What exactly was your relationship with the man?
Aha! He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. Said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thank my lucky stars.
I see, so you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious.
As far as I'm concerned, the man was an angel.
Oh, really?
An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for the presentation of the Great Expedition. And if it went well, I could expect additional financial support from my research in the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer to produce a machine to my precise specifications.
But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Aspen. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life. Yeah, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. How could this have happened? Must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower is greatly damaged too. I know what happened. It must have been that. That? The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. Frankfurters? When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is. For a scientist, he has some very illogical antidotes. Long and illogical. Ah, fascinating, yes. In Japan, where I come from, it's a symbol of defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find. Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical. What do you mean? Well, for example, I find this white laboratory lab coat I wear for more work very bracing, too. However, in my case, very logical reason for that feeling. Oh, really? What is it? I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one's too small for me. The sleeves, especially, are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists. It doesn't really seem like it. That's what you call illogical, is it? Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruto. Alright, well, I'm gonna leave.
Why are you back?
Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper.
Ah yes, it seems a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I had been photographed. It was careless of me.
Looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you and run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. At least the ones who survived.
But there's someone else fighting with you, alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it?
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him?
Why would I do that? He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor, so you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose, as I've already said at least 3 times.
Like you are to Hurley then, Runo. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with the great detective.
He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack.
But he's not moving. Looks as though he's wearing some kind of mask?
On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity.
Why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual?
Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions.
I hope you're right.
He doesn't even know who this guy is? He's just apprentice. And yet, there's something familiar about him.
Ah!
The task is complete? Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs.
Good what? I mean, yeah, okay, whatever.
Nice to meet you.
And he went back to the thing.
Back to work again. That was really strange, though. Never met the man before. Didn't even know he existed. And yet, somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter.
Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anyone else from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it.
Oh, I see.
Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyways?
I ran out of dialogue options, honestly. Huh? Oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to... Hey, he stood there so casually. Yeah, with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. I swear, if he's Kazuma, I'm gonna stab him. You don't just make your best friend think you were dead for almost a year. But also, I don't know how it would be Kazuma. We saw his dead body on the boat. Well, actually, I guess we didn't see it. We never saw his dead body. Only Sholmes did. And the girl. Yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Yeah, what's that? That Nipponese man, is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters, and the random poses and words. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo. I mean, he's the only one we've defended with a mustache. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by an international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There is little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yeah, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. Can't believe he's asking after Soseki. After a Nipponese. Not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. I never found that Mr. Reaper be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. Mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yeah, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zeeks, I think. Okay, leave. You mean leave now. At the end of the last big thing where we proved that it was the Englishman, I forget his name. I'm not good with names. But at the very end of the first game, he kind of like warms up to you and is like, you got the truth. Like, you did what you felt was right. And you know, he showed a little respect to Ryu. So, it's possible he's becoming a little less rude. It's also possible that he was just asking about Natsume because he wanted to see if the Reaper's curse got to him too. But it didn't. Also, hang on, I think the thing... Yeah, character development? Impossible. Not in my Ace Attorney. Clearly, every prosecutor must stay evil. Unless they become a defense attorney. I understand Lord Van Zeeks is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying law while I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, an all-around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barak von Zeeks. What was he like when he was at the university? Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zeeks family, and its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he has such a noble blood. Little darling. It'll be character development when he doesn't throw the bottle, or when he instead throws a chalice over to Ryu, and Ryu catches it and sips from it. You know, like Goto in the other one where he gets coffee. It's like, wow, this is good stuff.
was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yeah, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after the graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yeah, of course. He's heard about the Reaper. Really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zeeks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow.
You know what this guy reminds me of? I'll read that in a second. But you know the cartoon Johnny Test or whatever? I think that was his name. But it was the cartoon where, like, every time they move, they do, like, the snapping sound effects. Every time this guy moves, I can't help but think of that. Yeah, they apparently got really bad about it. I didn't watch those episodes, but apparently they had some episodes where there's, like, 300 some snap effects in one episode. The whip crack. It's like, why do you do this to your people? If your bones pop that much, they would snap off.
Hey, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. Huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work, is that correct?
As correct as 2 squares 4, I swear it.
2 squares is 4, wait, no, 2 squares would be 2 squares. And squares already have 4 sides, so that can't be right.
It's true the man perished from the machine of my invention, so I know that I'm far from blameless in all this. But still, I would never use my discoveries and my inventions to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science, it's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that. All my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science, or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law, it's all I know, you have to believe me, please!
When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court.
Alright, Bruno, it's time. Time to visit the Great Expedition. Sorry?
Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? And also I'm aiming this gun at you, so we better be going that way. Or else there's gonna be another murder case to solve.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last.
Huh. Foot of the Crystal Tower.
Ugh, showgrounds are a little too big for my liking.
No, he would not.
Been walking around the dense crowds for 2 hours now. I felt myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? Almost been trotted on 3 times too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand.
Oh. Didn't expect him to be holding her hand, especially since she's shrugging with both of her hands out. And also has them behind her back now.
Finally made it
through the throngs, through and through though, by the look of it.
Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday.
Question marks?
What's that? I could hear voices from up on the stage. Sounds like an argument.
Probably Sholmes and Gregson, if I had to guess. Oh, no. It's Gina. Huh. I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you. I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh, yeah? Go on, Inspector. Give it a shot. You ain't got evidence and you know it.
Wait, I know those voices.
Ah, you got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady. But a night in the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare you. If you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Is she a cop now? Yoo-hoo, Gregsy, what are you doing up there? I'm coming down. Ah! Ah! It's you! There! You're here! There you are, you! Here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well. Your ladyship.
Does that make her 3 times a lady?
I'm not well at all. Far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in the balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Don't believe I'll go have a word for you at once, your ladyship. I'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you.
Tobias Gregson, Inspector of Scotland Yard. Till recently he was suspended from duty, but it appears he's back in action now. Actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
It's gonna state again, it's gonna be really hard to say Sherlock Holmes after playing this game.
For that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. There are limits, surely, or there should be.
They want it, Sunshine.
Sorry.
What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case.
Yeah, I'm acting in the defense.
So we're here to investigate. Damn me, that's the situation, is it?
Really that troubling?
Measly 5 bob, is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You could stay to carry a bit more copper in your pockets, Mr. Naruto.
Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is.
You can have it back. Might have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob.
This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. Case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago. This is the young girl I was defending in court.
What's your problem, Odo? Diver, pickpocket, what's with all the name calling? Also, why are you monologuing out loud? You want a bag of chips ran down your throat, do you?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assume you've been up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way you talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. You have to call me what everyone else does. Inspector Lestrade now. 997. She gets our license suspended, steals our money, and then becomes an officer of the law.
Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely.
The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls her that. Well, it's worth anyway. Investigating's off the cards for now, for all of us. What's that supposed to mean? Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, alright? Alright, sir.
This raises a lot of questions.
But you know, at the same time, I could see her being a pretty good investigator. Who knows the streets better than someone who lived there?
"8 months ago now, I first encountered Gina, in connection with the case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. Helped all of them survive at pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder.
I had a lot of time to think in prison. Realized I couldn't go on like I was. Diving weren't working out.
I'm so pleased to hear it, Kenny. Well done. So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective? They don't really pay well, although, you know, I guess Gregson does have endless chips.
You got it, good, isn't it? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh?
Talk about a sea change.
And there's Iris' old man to think about.
Iris' father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? Say I get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him.
It's a small promise then, nothing serious.
Oh, Kenny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how I had to go and test for Scotland Yard.
Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I? It's a small problem. Nothing serious. That's when Hurley approached Gideon Gregson and asked for help. The inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Gideon and made her a sort of apprentice. That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave. But you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants. Great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
Or he tricked him. Probably pulled one of those, "Oh, so you're scared of teaching her," kind of things.
Long and short of it is, if you got the questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Right then, Inspector.
Actually, still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Oh, what, Bruno? What?
Well, first off, how can you read my mind?
Now, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're still not on about that, are you? Legend of the Reaper or whatever it's called. Cool, you don't have to worry, Odo.
If I didn't have to worry, probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left.
It's like I told you before, isn't it? Reaper's kinda like him upstairs, so he knows what I am like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong might be stretching a point.
Oh, Mr. Natsume in Japan. He's perfectly fine, isn't he?
Was he ever really fine?
Well, that's true. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he's alive. I don't know if he's fine.
Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought.
Exactly. So I ain't worried. Totally fine. Yeah, maybe Gregson can't read. Core was out of this world, it was. Brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers in his machine so they started blowing smoke. Then it just would pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet.
Sorry? I mean, you saw it, Guinea, with your own eyes?
Yeah, of course. Boss in charge here, ain't he? Keeping everything running smooth, I mean.
Boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's gonna take some getting used to.
All I have to say is I'm on duty and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in them flying balloons when it happened, watching from above.
No, you're so lucky, Guinea. Maybe I should have joined Scotland Yard too.
Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You have no trouble at all.
Then it's settled. When do I start? No, you can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I understand is this. If the machine explodes so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming this experiment was a success?
Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way.
It was? How can that have been?
Did his dead body fly through the window?
Uh-oh.
I'm back.
Gonna go ahead and do this again.
Sorry about that. I guess the thing froze for a second. Yeah, it looks like Steam tried downloading a thing again. Random game updates and doesn't detect that I'm playing a game right now.
The capture doesn't seem to be working.
Ominous. Oh, okay, there it is. Jeez. And there it goes. And there it is. You need a great detective to figure out what's wrong with this thing.
Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success.
It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there.
What? In the tower?
See it for yourself, can you? Up there above the scaffold.
Oh, where all the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, cage with what the victim got to start with. Really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So you see, it did kinda work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and out of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I'll tell you what, you can have this. The plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard. Yeah, are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off you before, so fair is fair. Yeah, I didn't actually give that to you, did I?
Interesting. But did he actually go there because of the experiment, or did the explosion send him there? I assume Sholmes is investigating this, or whoever attacked Zeeks.
Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange.
Yeah, for what it's worth anyway. Investigating's off the cards for all of us.
Yeah, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself.
Alright, that. Boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine that what blew up yesterday.
Well, that's not fair. We're upsetting the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations?
Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate either.
Why?
What the boss call him again? Forensic investigation team, I think? Anyway, apart from their lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, isn't it?
Even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yeah, I never heard something like that before.
Thought I could have a gander on the quiet, though. But the boss caught me at it. Probably owed him giving me an earful about it before flying down from down here, right? I can words. I swear I know how the words work. Not bleeding fair.
Yeah, I think you were giving as much of an earful back, as I remember it.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's those ships won't make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Noto. Go on, see if you can get through to him.
He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine exploded is.
We could try, can't we, Bruno?
Gregsy will listen to us, or I'll shoot him.
But first, I gotta look at this.
What's this? A ripped piece of cloth. Yeah, it's not like any fabric I've seen before. Very thick and stiff. Looks like extremely durable. It's canvas, I think, some sort of rubber backing. The edges appear to be a bit charred as well. Maybe that means it has something to do with the explosion.
Make a note of it while Guinea's midway on.
For some reason the ground is damaged in this spot, look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something. Yeah, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too. Suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eye and lit a small fire like this would have been. I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Bruno. I don't know about that.
That's where the cove ended up after the instant kinesis or whatever they call it. Dead, of course.
Yet they're calling the experiment a success?
What's the wooden scaffold there for? The coppers all lads set that up after the incident happened. Said to get the body down, I think. Don't know, really.
Didn't you help erect the scaffold then?
Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition keeping a lookout for the fun stuff.
Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim have really bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis?
Or, I don't know, just flown from an explosion?
Looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree there. Dropped or hid.
What is this, some part of the machine that exploded? Looks kinda like a crossbow.
Maybe, it could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps.
What's going on here?
Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this, just in case.
Why do we just take things, you know?
The Crystal Tower. Certainly an apt name. And a terrible raid.
in Final Fantasy.
It is built to be the focal point of the expedition. Definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. Can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan. Lots of exhibits that inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors. At the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw. Thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut. Sadly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower. That's a weird joke. Apparently everyone's taking to the skies now to look down at the disaster area from above instead. But there's a 3-hour queue to go up the balloon now. Londoners must be very patient people.
Well, can I go up there?
Stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted.
Okay. You know, this thing's important because it has its own 3D model.
So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up.
Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion. And I've seen my fair share.
Seen like this, like things like this before, you mean?
Of course, Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. I figured it was his fault. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. You could say that explosions are art.
Ah, that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs.
One time he made something that exploded with such a force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Runo.
Hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. I would probably have died.
Is she daydreaming about my imminent demise? Well, anyway, that's enough about that. Time to investigate.
Yeah, look, Inspector Gregson's over there. Seems to be deep in thought about something. While tying up the machine carefully.
Really? He just looks confused to me. Let's talk to him.
Ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it?
Magnificently and mercilessly.
Someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and beamed through the air.
Yeah, beamed. Not blasted. That's the point.
Yeah, that part's crucial, really. Something like that even possible, though, Iris?
Oh, Runo. I'm just a child. How should I know?
I don't know, the same way you know how to make fingerprint guns and seem to know everything that's going on. Child when it suits you, you mean?
From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever here...
Stop! Don't touch that!
Ha! That was practically instantaneousness from the way you flew over just now, Gregsy.
Please, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
Sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it. Will it be a sleeping potion?
Ah, wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful. Just like the old times, this is.
You didn't pass out, so no.
Representing Professor Harebrained Court tomorrow, Inspector. We should be allowed to examine the scene.
Listen, Sunshine, even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. Plus a special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. Driving me body.
Oh yeah, that special dispensation. Dispensation? Professor mentioned that too.
More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look, aren't we? Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy?
Gosh, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship, but please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything.
would we, Runo? I mean, except the ground. Really knows how to get what she wants. Actually, before I do anything, let's look at these things. Huh. Look like layers of the thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. Never seen anything like it before. Applying Mr. Schoen's methods, you might deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. And the charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Or it was part of the explosion. We did, in fact, already steal something. Whatever this thing is. Can't find anything out of place. What? Like, what is this? It seems like a crossbow, right? Like, you put the thing there, and then you wind it back. And then it'll pull the arrow back here and then fire, right? Ah, there's some sort of lever here. Aha! I was correct. What the? What's this? It looks like a cross between a bow and a bow and a gun. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. Well then. Alright, I didn't expect it to be a transformer crossbow, but it is in fact a crossbow. Looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. Must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and more powerful than Japanese longbow. Ugh, really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the expedition grounds. Groove here. Must be where the arrows are loaded, I suppose. So I was right, sort of a bow with an automatic firing mechanism. Be perfect for someone like me who catches his ear with the bowstring 2 times out of 3. In fact, if I had one of these, maybe I could have beaten Kazuma in Kyoto archery training. Interesting. But why? Honestly, if they made a bow game with the Pro Controller on the Switch or whatever, I'd probably play it. The motion controls are far better than they used to be. Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, then beam him across the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True. By far the most unusual experiments planned in the expedition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Right? Carrying something out that's so dangerous, so many spectators present, I mean. Government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. Even setting up the bombs. We get signals. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than odd spot of public safety infringements. Relatable, eh? They could be first to develop some new technology. It makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see? Too bad that doesn't stick around. I suppose that's true, in a way. The powers that be are placing heavy emphasis on the scientists' rights at the moment. What sort of rights? They're making it so that any theories of the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through development into a practical idea and even go into production. Which is infuriating. Reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch the crime scene. Because the new high Fulton special discipline blah 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 blah. Really long stupid words. Because the new highfalutin special dispensation for scientific equipment act forbids it. I'm just gonna call that the special science law from now on. Ah, I see. People with permission to investigate here are from some brand new department at the yard. Forensic investigation team is called. Been relegated to keeping guard. Forensic investigation team? But where are they? Any old folk can see this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. Just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, you can't do a dang thing with it. Poor Gregsy. Very head up, isn't he? Mind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here?
You haven't had me, Sunshine. It's the special scientific law. Ridley's not gonna say it again.
Yeah, I think Hurley mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eyes, I remember.
I'm sorry he did, your ladyship. I'm sorry he did. Passed especially for his great exposition, it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas and inventions to some suit in civil service. He gets the rubber stamp to guarantee of rights to maintain the inventions confidentially.
What does that really mean?
Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this expedition. A good half of them are load of cobbles, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself.
Thanks for that.
When have I... You know, it's this and Phoenix Wright, that is, where I'm like, why does everyone hate us? You know? Like, what did we ever do?
Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun.
That may be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine it? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
I'd soon think otherwise. I have to spend a day guarding all these shammers, bogus contraptions.
But if they're all bogus, how can anyone help to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Yeah, well, there's a point, sadly. Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas. If any of the theory inventions deemed to show potential, government hands out a research grant.
The scientists get funding?
Exactly. That's what they're all after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up the Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome up? Us coppers, that's who. See why I say it now, can't you? Hang science. Hang it.
Well, depending on if Phoenix is actually in Japan, they're pretty wishy-washy about it. Whereas this one, there's a clear separation. But even in this one, it's like the prosecution just has the right to do whatever. And the defense is just told, like, you do what you can, you know, and if you bring in some evidence that you just conveniently stole from the area, then, well, that's your power. Which, you know, in our case, that has won us a few rounds and will win us something with this crossbow.
Apparently Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research.
That's right, came back to Britain especially for the great expedition, as I understand it. Fly after one of those government research grants.
Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. Past time in further education. Turns out he was at university with someone we both know, Lord Van Zeeks.
What's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zeeks made the prosecution, then as the accused professor's fate is sealed.
Because the Reaper will get him one way or another.
Blimey. Man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in his head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long is that business gonna keep up, I wonder?
Victim in this case, the inventor, Mr. Asman. He was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard.
Lord Baron Von Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor. Even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win.
Yeah, I've heard about jurors being bribed with evidence of being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper and the Bailey came about, isn't it?
Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zeeks initially. All assumed he was taking matters in his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court.
Although the man himself denies that charge.
Well, we've done a very thorough investigation. Conclusion we reached? That Lord Van Zeeks is no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. No question in my mind. Take my reputation on it, I would.
If that's true, then how do you explain it? All of his defendants couldn't just coincidentally die if no one killed them.
I know that, but can't explain it. Mystery after all, isn't it? That's just the whole point of the Reaper. Professor Harebrained mentioned something else. Said at the university, Lord Van Zeeks was a totally different person. Easygoing and kind.
You what? We're talking about the same guy here.
Said that there was after they both graduated, something happened and changed the man. You have any idea what it was?
No clue.
Really?
Look, I got my hands full watching over the frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Okay, I'll make a nuisance of myself here by looking around.
Knowing how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrained was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. Have a good look around the machine while we can, I think.
Not do anything, I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, you hear? Oh, jeez.
I won't touch a thing, I promise. But please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims?
Yes, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, Sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules!
Oh, look at the base of the machine there. Oh yeah, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think? Isn't that a lovely one? The handle's in the shape of a capital letter A. It is? Oh yeah, you're right.
What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said. Touch anything, I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, I said.
Yeah, I understand, sorry. I only touched a teeny weeny bit. But Gregsy, I'm very curious about the screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course you ladies should be so clever, ladies. You fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid they can't let you have it. Bruno found it first. I assure you I'll investigate it thoroughly.
Gone off with it. That was very mean, I'm afraid. Inspector Granson's gonna make a very clumsy, embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now.
Whoa. She's gonna have him trip and fall into some pie or something.
Poor Gregsy.
But that also means he's not here. Oh. Right, you done here, Mr. Naruto? It's about time you were leaving, or rather, it is about time you were leaving. The lot here now.
That lot?
Forensic investigation team. They'll be giving us a heave-ho in a minute too. No, she's not gonna kill him off. That'll mean he'll die in real life too. If you die in the book, you die for real, Mimikyu.
Poor Gregsy. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up.
Ah, I hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time.
Well, at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. Looks like this is as far as we're gonna get with our investigation here, at least. I've been thinking. Charlie might know something, mightn't he?
About what?
About Mr. Reaper.
About what happened to Lord Van Zeeks, you mean?
Sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he? Ta-da! Here's what you need. What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tussault's? Does it mean something to me? You don't know it? Most popular attraction in London at the moment. Very close to Baker Street, actually. We can go now if you like. No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow. Isn't that more reason to do it now? But that's where Hurley is.
What? At this popular London attraction?
Uh-huh.
How is it you know where he is?
Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo.
Madame Tussault's?
I don't see how this could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then... stranger things have happened. Like, I don't know, when a knife fell out of a window and stabbed some lady in the back that was planning a murder, thereby having the other guy dodge being murdered because the person that he was trying to murder was actually convicted of murder of the lady that was trying to murder him,
in the first place. Stranger things have happened. When they happen, Mr. Sholmes usually at the heart of them.
I was hoping we'd see the forensic guys, but I guess not. It was more of a triangle, but yeah. Hexagons need loves too, though. Duh! 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 Duh?
What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes, but why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight.
They're wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Bruno? Shocked?
Wax models?
What's wax?
Ag! I read about dead bodies in wax once, in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them could turn to wax, apparently. It's called a adipocere.
Out of what? Adipocere? Stop talking about creepy things like that, Bruno. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere doesn't form. Ah! What now?
I just remembered something else I read. In another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display.
None of the exhibits here are real.
Oh, okay.
That one looks familiar.
They're all entirely man-made replicas. It can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. No way anyone can make models of people that are this realistic. And they're all such gruesome scenes. Especially that one with Sholmes. Wait.
What is it?
Oh, no. Must be seeing things.
We're just gonna ignore him. Who's this guy?
Models are so well made. Can't tell what's a waxwork and what's real human.
Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. And when it's closing time, all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about. Like, I don't know, some sort of late night museum movie. Starring Robin Williams.
Just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already and I was on my way home.
I thought this guy was just a guard, though.
This an arm?
It looks like an arm, doesn't it?
Maybe one of the waxworks models have fallen over. You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you?
Bruno, stop scaring me.
It's a wax arm or a real one?
Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm out and see how it feels.
Objection!
Well, what does this thing say?
That big heavy curtain is a very prominent position, isn't it? Nasty feeling there's gonna be something truly terrifying behind it.
It's the famous Tussault special exhibit. It's one of England's most notorious killers. Do you want to pay the extra fee to have a look?
Pay more money to be even more terrified? Oh, let me think about that for a moment. Maybe.
It's only a suggestion.
Is this some infamous murderer?
Yes, called Jane the Ripper. Was that a real thing? I know of Jack the Ripper. But who's Jane? Jack and Jill went up the hill to stab someone who forgot to pay the bill.
I knew it. You could tell by the way she's holding that knife. Sure sign of a murderer.
Well, yes.
I've worked it out. I know what she's doing. Trying to fill that bathtub with blood so she can have a soak in her victim's gore. Not according to the information about the exhibit on the board there. Doesn't mention anything about the bathtub. Really? Why is it there? Sorry, I don't think it's significant. Still think it has to be there for a reason.
Like, this guy's alive, right? Can't be fake. What are you doing, Sholmes?
It's the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue here? Really?
Well, he is world famous after all.
Uncanny resemblance, isn't it? Makes my skin crawl to look at it.
I know. It's almost like he's real. But look, Bruno, you can kick this Hurley and he doesn't move a muscle.
Can't go around kicking exhibits, Iris.
Ow!
Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit either.
Really? Did it?
And look closely. There are beads of sweat on his face. Of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look, there's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing.
Hold it! My dear fellow, I can take exception to your recalling in such a manner, as if you've seen as if you've seen something truly abhorrent.
Mr. Sholmes! I knew it.
Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo.
Temporary waxwork? What do you mean?
And that kick! Could you have not exercised a little more restraint? You winded me.
Bruno has something he needs to ask you.
Ah, a question?
And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are.
Well, I can't deny your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that, and my great brain, upon which all success has been built, would have turned to wax.
Thank goodness we arrived in time.
Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from the unimaginable loss.
I can't imagine it.
Oh, Hurley, you like to talk nonsense, don't you?
Could know something, it's true. About Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him.
Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For your own luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing.
Oh, well, actually I'm quite in a hurry.
My eyes don't deceive me. I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that's related to the matter on which you've come to me now.
But how could it be?
We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow, but for now I must return to my work.
What? Back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit?
Is he just gonna pose like that the whole time? There's no one here, though.
What is this place?
Madame Tussault came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan, too.
Oh. There are museums like this in Japan, too, as you just said. But these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they?
The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of Tussault's family, they say. They earned a renown during the French Revolution for the waxworks of victim in the guillotine. I assume these are like a real thing that happened, right? You know, since Natsume was a real author. Like, I figured Tussault might actually be a real person that made waxwork exhibits.
Got it. That sounds grim.
The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism, the expressions of the faces condemned.
Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the side of the executions. That really turns my stomach.
That's just one of several legends about the Tussault family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum, by quite some margin, is this House of Horrors.
House of Horrors?
Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exposition. People usually flock here to see the exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals after their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they even stiffer now than the models of them. Ha ha!
Have you heard of the poor taste?
My dear fellow, the public lives for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked.
So the hideous exhibits here are... There are portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop?
It's just you. Anyway, I advise you not think too deeply about what you see here.
Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he?
This is just gonna be the theme. Just going back into this pose every time.
What do you mean by temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes?
Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act.
Catching them?
Every half hour I come in a different killer in one of the displays and opt a new pose to ensnare it. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us.
Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes?
My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money!
Really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors.
As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider.
Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry.
If push comes to shove, I shall ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruto.
What's he threatening to rope me into now?
So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours.
Maybe some other time.
Remember, Mr. Naruto, ignore me at your own peril.
Back to being a waxwork again. Just me, or did his final remark there sound like a lot like a curse?
Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then?
Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks.
Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust.
So I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at the university together. So I'm wondering what it is what happened to make Lord Van Zeek such a different person. I was sure you know, Hurley. Said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before. That something was afoot. You believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? Suddenly clammed up.
Well, it seems we reached the unavoidable... Greetings? Oh. I was expecting someone older.
Oh, hello. Where'd she appear from? What's she wearing? Can she look any more mysterious? I hope you're appreciating my museum. Sorry, have we... Mr. Sholmes, you know this... Not again.
I bet you want her hat, Griffey.
My apologies, I'm Esmeralda Tuspers. This is my museum of waxwork. What, you're the Madame Tuspels? Bien, sir. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madam in name only. It adds a certain... whatever that means. Right, I don't speak French. Could you speak Japanese English like everyone else? Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxwork in particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes, then.
Making you feel old.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, will be toil and trouble, of which you can see it bubbles.
Ah, Huck! I'm still here.
She sounds deadly serious.
That's a problem.
How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean.
Yeah, I know, but...
I'm so curious, I want to know what's happening here.
And we got enough on our plate already.
I appreciate that you can see her other eye blinking even though it's under the hat.
Do you make all these waxworks, Madam Tusples?
I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know. Gosh. It was my grandmother who began tradition in my family. Her fortunes were something, living through the turbulent times of French Revolution as she did. Though that is when she acquired the savor flair that leads to astonishing lifelikeness.
All these waxworks really do look as though they're alive. Especially the one that is. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley.
What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of real people in which they were modeled. In the hours immediately following their executions, that is the secret to extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths, even if that length is death. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Yeah, why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Like, I don't know, a unicorn or something?
Do not fear.
Sorry?
This room is the only one at the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight here. Come to think of it.
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
What's the situation with, that?
My temporary waxwork model. He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh, what sort of proposal?
My dear madam, what these sports exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Naturally, I'm well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
Yes, the creme la creme, so I was keen to come to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree to terms.
Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services?
For mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Or words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment, due to unforeseen circumstances. So we came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely doesn't need to do what he's doing though, does he?
I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning. Or something to that effect. Yep, I knew she was going to say it again. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
The consulting detective at work not going so well?
I wonder, could I ask you something? I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Well, it was... Yeah, no, your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it to me a little... And he's gone. Oh, he disappeared. A wax model's a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade. Ah,
I'm over here now.
there you are. Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working. Do you wish to be melted down? Why do you just have that?
Oh, my dear Madam Dustbill, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. Our ideas about your current problem, we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not involve the police.
Why ever not? Turn as white as a sheet.
Because you have at your disposal a great detective whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I insist upon payment in advance.
You can melt him, by the way. We won't tell anyone. Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we?
Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain?
That is the Tussault special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it.
Ah, a special exhibit in the House of Horrors. Must have picked a special killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder?
Absolutely none. There's nothing amiss behind there.
Nothing amiss, madam? What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond, before the situation worsens. Whoops. Sorry, I keep pressing the wrong buttons.
Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains.
But only a soup can? I don't know how to speak French, so... Number 139. I'm glad it's not 997, you know, Guinea's badge number. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tussault special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer of one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor.
Well, then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself.
I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's perfectly ordinary London gentleman, not even a waxwork, in fact.
What?
As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So allow me to present my two conclusions. The first, that sizable business transaction is taking place in the special exhibit.
Why? Why would you say that?
And the second, that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime.
Looks as pale as candle wax.
I don't understand. So, Madam Tussault, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work.
Oh, this again. Great. This is what we didn't want.
To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200.
That is all my own money.
So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madam Tussault. Answer lies with where your eyes now fall. Snippets of the £200 were revealed by that public notice.
Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of £200. Now let's explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who was the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? Here the man has suffered a severe shock, cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? Oh, I like her long hair, too. He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for a sum of £200. Only when it came to handing the money over did it occur to him what an extraordinary amount he was paying. But money was no longer in his hands. And the result, the scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit fetched a killer price. We only pray the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. But is he dead? Question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider the problem for a moment. You cannot possibly. What really strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over here. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we only observed his neckerchief, such as worn by the policeman as a secret sign to fellow members of police that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman, currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? Seriously. Man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. I really wish we could skip this part and just go to the part where we correct him, because, like, it's so... ugh. Next, we turn our attention to the old man's seat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. Watching closely, he hasn't moved a muscle, almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Ah, but you... Your action only confirms my suspicion, madam. Knows at once, of course. Here! Telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence? A tragically low price, you might say. The perhaps going rate for aging waxworks is riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant £200. Sort of plucky behavior so to attract the attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police, and remains in their custody as we speak. Old man must be reunited with his grave in a special exhibit, not a moment too soon. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. None of what you said was correct. Oh no. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Otter Mole. Sorry? Mysterious series of murders that routed the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared in the aether. Turned out the culprit was the policeman himself, the senior officer made by the name of Otter Mole. You mean that's the sinister-looking old man they're supposed to be? Indeed, it's a particularly grim face, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that obvious, odious countenance only too well. That's £200 a lot of money for a wax model? Be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages, if that puts things in perspective. So, it's quite a lot then.
Anything else you wish to add before I add you to this boiling cauldron? Before I melt you down?
That bubbling wax looking more and more ominous.
The smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me.
Mr. Schultz did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call in your assistance here, Iris. That's alright. Make some minor corrections to the great detective's deductions again.
Of course it's alright. We'll soon set things straight.
Let's get started then, shall we?
Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madam Tussault, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Again. It's like at this point, I feel like Sholmes just does this in order to waste our dang time. Well, Mr. Sholmes is apparently working here so we can get 50 shillings or whatever. However much that is. £200, blah blah blah. Bet you probably want her bag too, Griffey. Pounds is revealed by that public notice.
Definitely look in this direction, that's true. I'm not sure she's selling any of her waxworks, even for £200. Must part her poor heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and over the wax. If I were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. And that much money, I would. But it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the £200 could have something of other significance. Follow that glance again. What's that note doing pinned on the wall over there? Oh yeah, let's see.
Dear Madam Tussault, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is £200. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd of October.
What? This is just like sort of thing you left behind when someone's kidnapped. It's a ransom note. Exactly.
Okay, so someone stole the thing.
Then we can say the £200 revealed by that ransom note.
Quite so. We must congratulate these criminals on their incentiveness, abducting a waxwork. £200 is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
Motto in question has special importance. So I put together all the money I have.
In summary then, £200 you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity which we are presented. You know, this dead guy. Who this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor. Here the man has suffered a severe shock. Cause of which is clearly known to you. Fortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. No.
Maxberg was kidnapped. Where does that leave the terms of who this man is? Could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris.
Yeah, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard. He mustn't let him down.
Yeah, little doubt he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. In that case, what is Madame Tussault trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. This is Madame Tussault's right hand, isn't it? Yeah, it must be. Clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. It's a left hand as well. Look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean made out of wax?
She bonked him on the head with the hand.
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand.
Indeed, what a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you? The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. That'll be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals, in fact, it's a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, does not belong to you, madam. The hand of a waxwork model. One second, Penny wants out. I'm back. Penny started to bark at something, and then she started wheezing. Makes me feel bad.
Some of the visitors to the museum can be very troublesome. You also notice that Briley added a few adjectives there. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. Now you mean that arm? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir.
No small keepsake.
Like taking a whole branch off a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
None of them are impressed.
I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back.
And the result? The scene was seen before us. He was knocked unconscious. But we may need to revisit later, but for the time being we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in the special exhibit has been kidnapped. Question arises then, what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Is there the problem for a moment?
You cannot possibly.
The main strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over here. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief.
According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that the crime is underway. May communicating with colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. He was closely guarded by Scotland Yard. That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is a true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussault's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' seduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. What the? Man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that settles that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. Entire arm's been ripped off. From shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Poor guy had his whole arm ripped off.
Who is this fellow? Find the answer, we need to only observe his shoulder stub.
No such boneless human walks this earth. Of that I can assure you. Ignoring the one behind my shoulder right now. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model.
I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes.
Shut up!
He's become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man.
Naturally! What other explanation could there be?
It was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it?
Next, we turn our attention to the man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. And watching closely, he hasn't moved a muscle, almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork.
Ah, but you...
Your action only confirms my suspicions, madam. I know as a once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that essentially proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag.
A killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? He was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. Very low price, though. 300 pence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrideb's delightful lodgings, in fact. This special killer taken from the special exhibit. Is it? Waxwork someone stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds. Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole? Really? Actually, I'll good luck again and see what other idea crops up. Like, I don't know. 3 pence? Far cry from 200 pounds, isn't it? Buy and put on display in your room, Bruno. I think I'd rather not go to sleep being watched by an old man, if it's all the same to you. Price tag does stand out, doesn't it? I mean, you couldn't even buy a helmet on his head for that much money. I don't think. What are the price tags really for, then? I don't know, the stinking scarf he's wearing? Yeah, I figured this guy was real. Look at this! Old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He'd be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean... it must be a Twitch! And you can go to twitch.tv/BlueMageBrilly right now to follow this scene. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Never mind that, point is Waxworks don't tap their feet. Or Twitch. Or watch Twitch. The arm looks too. Seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? We have.
Take that!
Yes, the science proves whether this old man's a waxwork is the obvious Twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a Twitch, even in a Twitch exhibit. In other words, this splintered old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madam Tussault? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come into the first place. He's clearly fatigued, he's sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently on a local market. And I presume you've already observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Secret sign used by detectives shows that someone's criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because, as you know, there has been such a criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, detective. So it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork, especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit, has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard is already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Again. Still a mystery. Elementary, my dear fellow. But also, why did we do this? I don't really get this part of the game. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men, women, young, old. Some eating chicken, some eating ham. Some Japanese, some with a clam. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on the way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe, at least the second time. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm gratified you enjoy such a spectacle, with your spectacles. As for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Her braid is a broom. Can you fly on her hair, though? Yes, tragically, it was. Then I would ask you to recount us events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in much detail as possible, if you please. Very well, but after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish.
Yes, if you cut the braid, she will lose all her power.
Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please.
Some days ago now, when I came in here one morning, I immediately noticed the waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here.
Sure was prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed.
And I found the ransom note in its place.
Culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then.
So this waxwork that was stolen is the model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a mere profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor.
Not a name I've heard of.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, seems the circle is complete.
Sorry?
The Professor case happened around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. Indeed it did. No relation to you. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital.
10 years ago?
Yes, at exactly the time that Barak von Zeeks graduated from university, in fact.
What? Surely he's not saying...
So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life. Hello, Gum. Hope you're having a good day. Though you might have arrived near the end of the thing. As you've surmised, it was the Professor case.
Who was this Professor, then?
It was a series of gruesome murders that had London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present, on account of the abduction.
I don't understand. How is this all related to Lord Van Zeeks?
Must first understand, my dear fellow, why is it the Professor in such infamy? It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by Professor were some of the highest members of British aristocracy. Members of nobility, even royalty, that sent shockwaves through the country's administration.
Members of the... Wait, of course! Professor Harebrain said. Lord Van Zeeks is from a family with noble blood.
Killed his parents, I'm guessing. The 5th victim that led to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zeeks.
No! I don't believe it. Van Zeeks?
I'm sure you can piece together the rest of yourself. In the wake of his older brother, I figured it'd be his father. In the wake of his oldest brother's murder, the young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. So it's not completely a one-to-one with Edgeworth. Instead, it was his older brother who was killed. If it was his father, it would just be Edgeworth again.
I had no idea Lord Van Zeeks had such a tragic past.
And I'm guessing that the Professor was probably Japanese. Which is why Van Zeeks hates Japanese people. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. Bing! As a waxwork exhibit. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well.
Oh yeah, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Wait, what? Oh. It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Barak. It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in the prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Osmond. I just can't. Asmund, sorry. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow the court will decide. Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident, a terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Burke, are you really? What? Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course. I fully understand. Thank you, Barak. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. That's delightfully reassuringly and yet somehow intimidating, Barak. Please don't throw those hollow chalices again, please. Last time I got glass in my hair, it took 3 years to get it out. Well, I hate to cut things a little bit short, as we probably could go on longer, but I have a few things I have to do today. Notably making sure that the water stuff is fixed. Because we had a pipe burst again. It's been burst for a while, but now they're actually fixing it. It's because we're used to, oh yeah, it would be our fault, of course. But I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I may come back later with some casual thing or something, but we'll see. But either way, thanks so much for watching, and that will possibly be our last stream for the year if I don't come back later. Because tomorrow I will have some things to do, and then have to go to another thing, and ugh. But I will be sure to say a thing on Discord, but just in case I don't see you again, Mimikyu, hope you have a good new year. And thanks so much for all your viewership. I hope you enjoy the stream. Well, enjoy the streams to come. But I'm gonna go. So bye for now, and have a good night. And remember to not trust any wax figures. Yes, I think that if it wasn't his father, it has to be his brother. Which is weird, because he was like, clearly that's not me. It's like, it is you, just more handsome. Not to say Van Zeeks isn't handsome, but, you know, not that chiseled. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and hope you all have a good night. Bye for now.